Hey guys, it's Rob Anderson with DollarMoves. I'd like to welcome you to our fourth Getting to Know live show, which I have my favorite entrepreneurs and online sellers doing great things that others should aspire to. I talk with them about where they've come from and what they've done to get to where they are now. Now today we have Jessica and Cliff Larrew on the show. And before I introduce my guests further, I'd like to make sure that you guys can all hear me, that the sound is good, and that the picture is good. You can see and hear me. Now, I know it's a little choppy today. My computer decided to mess up, but if you can hear me, that's great. If you just let me know in the chat, my sister Crystal is in there monitoring the chat today. So also, if you guys would take a moment to let your friends know on Facebook and other social media that we are live, that would be awesome. We'd love to have more people. If you think the show is awesome and you'd like to see more of them in the future, I ask that you show your support by clicking the thumbs up or like button under the video now. We truly appreciate your support. And today's guests are, we have two guests, which is pretty awesome. We have Cliff and Jessica Larrew. They're successful husband and wife FBA sellers and business owners that work their business from home where they can spend lots of time with their son Aiden. They're trusted sellers and mentors in the online selling community who've done over $1 million in Amazon sales in the last 5 years. Their popular website, The Selling Family, helps train Amazon sellers how to be successful in many different areas while keeping family first. The Selling Family has been represented on many different podcasts, including Pat Flynn's Smart Passive Income, where Jessica introduced FBA to a whole new audience of people that hadn't heard of it before. They're the creator of the popular Amazon Bootcamp ABC video-based FBA training program. They also have numerous Amazon trainings, including Liquidation Gold, Grocery Gold Mine, and special Q4 and back-to-school trainings, and so much more. So I'd like to welcome you guys to the show today.
Thank you. That's quite an introduction.
Yeah, it's good to be
You
here.
like that?
Yeah,
You just go, wow, I've done so much stuff, right?
yeah, like, who are those people? I want to get to know those people.
Right?
That's it. That's awesome. So I'm so excited to have you guys on here. We're going to go for an hour today. Like I said, I've got some questions here, and it's going to be a little different having you both on here. So I'd like to get the aspect from both of you guys through all this stuff, and we'll see if we can cram it all into an hour. But thanks so much for being on. I'm honored that you guys would be here today.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Rock and roll. So the first part of the show here is just kind of the getting to know you and where you came from, things like that. So first thing is we'd like to know a little bit about you, who you are, where you live, your families, hobbies, things like that. And I'll let you choose who goes first.
You go first. Ladies first.
Okay. Well, we are a husband and wife team, so I'm Jessica, that's Cliff. Sometimes people get those mixed up. So I just, right now our life is so different than it was whenever we first got started in Amazon. I just realized the other day that I actually got let go from my job 7 years ago. And I mean, that's just crazy to me to think about how that's basically the turning point of when things started to change for us, was when I got let go from my job. And so over the last 7 years, we've really been working to just build a lifestyle business that allows us to figure out the kind of things that we enjoy doing as a family. We've started our family in that time. You know, we had our son Aiden after I got let go, and he's 5. He's almost 6 years old. I mean, it's just crazy to think about that. So our business running full-time together on Amazon, we've been doing for about 5 years now. So, I mean, like, that's a long time, right?
Right, and he only knows that. That's so cool that he grew up only knowing you guys as business owners, basically.
Right. So like, any memories that he has is just of us working from home. And we feel like he probably has no idea, I mean, like, what real life is like, like
what normal is, yeah.
Who don't, if we ask him, we're like, well, do you know what we do? And he's like, well, yeah, we're the Selling Family. That's what he tells people, is we're a selling family. And we say, well, do you know what that means? And he says, yeah, we sell stuff online. And I'm like, that's exactly it.
We get to do what we want.
Keep it simple, right?
That's awesome. Does he, like, see other people's parents and be like, well, why can't they just go do whatever like my parents can? You know what I mean? Like how we can kind of drop what we want and work around when we want. Has he noticed that?
He doesn't notice that yet. We always tell him, man, you're so lucky that we're both home and we can go do this stuff, and it hasn't really sunk in yet. And to be honest, we've kind of talked about that, and that's something that I'm a little fearful of, is that I want him to just appreciate that. And I think he will as he gets older, because
Right.
I want him to know that it is special that we get to both be home, and we don't have to go drop him off at daycare every day and pick them up, and we're able to go to all the things at school and volunteer in the classroom. So it's something that I don't think he appreciates yet, but I think he will as he gets older.
Yeah, one thing that's really
huge
cool.
that you get to be there.
Yeah. One thing that's really cool for us is, so he started school this year. It was his first full year. He ends in 2 days. Is like I say we get to drop him off and pick him up together, but to be honest, I prefer to sleep in and let Cliff drop him off. But whenever we can,
I'm on your schedule.
whenever we can, we both pick him up from school, and it's just so cool because, we're like the only couple that's picking their kid up from school, really consistently. And I think he probably notices those kind of things, but he just doesn't really understand the full depth of what they mean. Even things like,
Right.
we want to go places, and it's like, well, invite so-and-so, and it's like, well, they have to work, or, it's not their day off today. And he's just like, but why can't they just go today? Like, that's when we want to go.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's so cool. And I think, like Cliff was saying, as he gets older, he's really going to notice that more, where it's like, my family decided that we're going to go camping for the next 2 days, and we just can't. Or we're going to go to the beach or whatever. That's super huge. So, tell me, when is the first time that either of you guys ever made money in a job or on your own, and how old were you? Do you remember the first time that you ever did something for money?
You mean just like working like night on my first job or something?
Anything, like as a kid, just the first time you ever really dealt with money, like that you did something for money.
Well, when I was 18 in my senior year, I actually had to leave my home. Marriage kind of fell apart, and I met this beautiful lady here. So I had some nice people that kind of helped me out, and I kind of moved to a different town and started at a different school. And I knew I had to get a job and start taking care of myself right away. So I started, my first job was Burger King. I went there and while I was finishing up my senior year. And then after that, I knew I wasn't going to college, so I knew I had to start hustling somewhere. So I told myself I got to find me a good job and just start hustling my way up. And that's what I did right out of high school. I got hired at a tile company. And then by the time, that was when I was about 19 probably. And then by the time I was 21, I was already managing a couple stores for them. And that's where we both worked for a good amount of our working career.
So I have
right on. And
me.
Yeah.
I have quite a bit more where I did to make money over the years. So I probably started making my first money when I was about 10 or 11, just babysitting my cousins. And then I had like real babysitting jobs the summers when I was like 13 and 14 years old. I even went to work with my mom in the summer. She worked at a nursery, and so I would help like water the plants, and her boss would pay me a couple bucks to be there. And
nice.
I had my first like clock-in job whenever I was 16, and I started working at Taco Bell, and I worked there until I graduated. And then I had quite a few cool jobs since then. Like I was a church secretary for a while. I worked at an assisted living facility for seniors, and I was the activities director. And so I basically got paid to work with older people and plan what kind of fun things we would do.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then from there, I went to. Did I go to Bedrosian's right after that?
No, you did. Real estate for a little bit.
Oh, that was after.
Was that after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I went to the tile store after that with Cliff, and basically it was no, I did do something else. Sorry. It's when we're together, we get to bounce it off of each other. I did merchandising for a while. I don't know if you know what that is, where you do the resets for stores. And so that was kind of my first insight into
Is that like at
how
night?
stores.
Is that like the inventory thing, or is that different?
Yeah, similar. So like
Okay.
that was my first insight into how stores actually adjust their plans for the seasons. And so we would
Wow.
go in
Okay.
and for each store we would change stuff up and we would see that every store got the same clearance at the same time. And so that was kind of my first
Right.
like, well, what happens to this stuff whenever it gets to 75, 90% off because they don't want it anymore? So I kind of peeked into eBay at that point. Then I thought, okay, well, we're married now, and I should probably get like a job where I don't have to travel because I was driving all over California doing this job, which was super cool for
Oh.
somebody who wasn't like married. But once
Right.
we were settling down, I thought I should be home more. So then I started working the regular job from there. So those are my.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like, I've met, well, first off, I think we all start in the fast food or some sort of like crappy service job, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like when we get into that first real job, but it seems like a lot of entrepreneurs, I know they do a lot of different stuff, try out a lot of different things before they finally get into something that they really dig. So, how long have you guys been selling online for?
So I actually started selling on eBay before I lost my job. So it's been 7 years since I haven't had a regular clock-in job. So I would say that I started selling on eBay about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And then I started about 5 years ago when Jessica replaced my income by selling on Amazon. And so 5 years ago, we took the plunge together and went full time and said we're going to knock this out of the park.
That's so awesome. Where you get? Well, I'll actually get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So, everybody has a story about what got you started in business, and what was it that led you up to starting your business?
Well, I think, like you said, as entrepreneurs, you're just always kind of looking for stuff. And so I feel like I always had that desire. We've talked about it before, and it's like I always knew I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to work for somebody else. I didn't want somebody
Right.
always dictating what I was going to do. And I liked the fact that with even things like selling on eBay, I had control over how much money I was going to make based on how much I was going to put in effort. It wasn't just like, okay, well, if I clock in and I'm here for 5 hours, I get this amount of money. But I saw right away doing that, okay, if I find more profitable things or I find more things that I can sell, I'm going to make more money. And so there were times where I was working a regular job and selling on eBay, but I was making more money doing that than when I was working the regular job, depending on what I was selling. And so to me,
Right.
it was like, it was just always there. Like I always knew I wanted to do something different.
That's awesome. And then when you actually got into it, you said, did you go from the merchandising into selling on eBay? Like, what made it to where you were first full-time into online?
In full time was when I got let go from my job. And it
Oh,
was
okay.
just kind of, I don't think I would have made that transition because, I look back at it now and I think, okay, we looked at that as like the comfortable thing to do. And that was the safe and secure thing, was having a job that I clocked into and I always knew how much money I was going to make. And that was,
Right.
the thing that you do, even though I could make more money doing something else. If I hadn't gotten let go, I don't know that I would have had the strength even to make that decision to go full time because I wasn't going to put in full time hours when I was working a regular job at that point. And so that was kind of what did it, was I kind of got pushed into it and then thought, you know
Right.
what? Let's just make it go full time. Let's see what happens. Why not? And then Cliff,
Well,
I
and then
come home and work
obviously
with
it
me.
worked. Right. Obviously it worked because now Cliff, like you said, 5 years ago, you made the decision to jump on in, and you both are doing it now full-time ever since. I mean, I know that that's got to be what a lot of people aspire to. And for us, thinking back like 5 years ago or before that point, it's like it's a little hard now to think about going to a job every day, clocking in every day, being told what to wear, being told where to be, being told not to think and just do your dumb job or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like probably really hard for most people to think, wow, 5 years you guys haven't had like a job. You know what I mean? Like you get to do what you want for a living, and that's so huge. So I think this is really great. Now, along the road, were there any struggles or challenges that really stand out in your business?
I think just to speak, like when I came home or decided to quit my job, that was a huge decision for us that we really did not take lightly, because I had, a good, corporate salary. I had health benefits for our family.
Right.
And it was something that we really took into consideration. It wasn't something, just on a whim. We had a proven, like Jessica had proven that she could make some good income, and we were already rolling with it a little bit. But I think that was maybe not a struggle, but just a huge decision that we had to make at that time, because a lot of our friends and family looked at us kind of funny, and
sure.
It wasn't as big a deal for Jessica in our friends and family's minds for her to tinker around and have a fun
hobby.
Hobby to do. But when
play on our little
I was
internet
leaving my
business,
job, all of a sudden it got serious and people were looking at us kind of funny, and no one ever really said it to my face, but I knew they were thinking we were crazy. But that was a huge decision for us to make.
I'm sure. Were there any after you got started, like as you were going along through your online selling, were there ever anything like maybe even working together, or maybe were there any other types of struggles that ever came up that really like happened, or has it been pretty easy selling for you?
Yeah, I always wanted to be the boss, and Cliff came home from a job where he was the boss, and that was kind of a struggle right off the beginning, was trying to find that balance, because, in every couple situation, everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses, and we had to find that balance as well, and another thing that was kind of something that we had to deal with was, we have to actually work, like whenever Cliff was still working a regular job, if I didn't want to work for a few weeks, or if Aiden was sick, or, whatever, and I didn't want to work, like it was no big deal. I could just take the time off because it was just all extra money. But when it was both of us, it was like we had to actually make that conscious decision to say, okay, like we need to make this much money this month, so we actually have to go to work and make sure that we find enough products to sell. And I think, that's kind of a struggle right when we first started together, was like, okay, we have to make sure that we do treat this like a business and, do all those things. And another thing too, and it's all going like back to the beginning, it's not to say that we've had it super easy since then, it's just the easiest to think back to. But even managing the money of the business when we first got started was totally different when we both went full-time, because, things like taxes, they kind of got washed whenever Cliff had a full-time job, because when I started selling, we never saw a tax return again. But it was because we would have if I wasn't working, but that kind of washed it off, right? But then when Cliff left his job, it was like we had that first experience of being like real entrepreneurs who were both paying our self-employment taxes, and it was like, so
we have
this is what this looks like. And
oh, hey.
You did that wrong. Like for sure you did taxes wrong, and I'm like, no, I think we did it right.
And we got to pay them so much, and it was crazy. That was a big shocker for us. It was our first year in taxes, and I mean, that's not to say we didn't make good money, but it's just something you go from you're used to getting about $1,000, a couple $1,000 back in a tax return, and then all of a sudden you have to be paying close to 6 figures in taxes, and you're like, what the heck just happened, man? That's crazy.
Right, and it also, when you're an employee, like Jessica was saying, it washes it out, because your paycheck was getting them taken out automatically, like most people's in a paycheck. And when you have to actually when you become a business owner and you actually have to see the tax money, you start going, wait, what is all this going for, man? You know?
Right.
Yeah, it's quite a difference. But yeah, that's great to hear. So really the pressure was kind of a big struggle for you guys, like the pressure of like, okay, now it's on. Like we're all in and we got to do this thing. So
Right.
that's really cool. Now, as far as you had talked about how you were let go from your job, and it sounds like that was kind of the thing that really pushed you into getting online, kind of forced you out of desperation to find some other way to make money. And I would consider that being a struggle. And how important was that to your story? And did you learn a lot from it?
I learned a lot about myself from it. You know, I felt like it took me a while to even be able to look back on it and be okay with it. Even though I knew that it changed our life for the better, it was like I still had hurt feelings. You know, I had a lot of things like, why me? Why did I have to get let go? Why couldn't it have been somebody else? I was a hard worker, and, you know, all those things. And so to me, it was a real struggle personally to be able to understand that. But then to know now how much of a blessing it really was, because like I said, I would have never thought, like, let's just do this full time. Like, I don't need a regular job. I can make more money. Like, it wasn't really a thought in my mind to go full time, because I had aspirations to, in this company, I wanted to be at Cliff's level, you know, like I wanted to be a manager and I wanted to do other things like that. So it wasn't like I thought, oh, well, I'm going to be able to make 6 figures doing something else, not working for somebody. And that just wasn't in my mind. So that was a struggle. And even there were times where I was making good money selling online, and I still would look at other things, like maybe I should look at getting a job just so I know that for sure it'll keep going. And it took, I mean, well over a year to be able to have that confidence, like, okay, it's still going good. It's, you know, I'm still consistently making the money. As long as I put in the work, I'm still making the money. And so, you know, it's a lot of mindset to be able to work for yourself, I think.
Yeah, and I think, too, that, you know, a lot of people are so worried about losing their jobs. And, you know, the truth is you're not really safe, you know, clocking in at a 9 to 5 either. You know, as Jessica knows, you can lose your job whenever. So people always say, well, what if I try Amazon and I don't sell anything or I don't make any money? Well, it's like, you know, you don't have to quit your job right away. Like, try it as a hobby and see if you can build it up. And then, you know what's the worst that can happen? You actually do make money, and you know, or you lose a couple $100s and trying to start something out. But you know, you're never guaranteed to make money, even if you're at a job, because they control your income. You know, they can say at a moment's notice, we don't need you anymore. And we just decided that, you know what, we'd rather risk it and work for ourselves and have the lifestyle that we have instead of clocking in 9 to 5 for somebody.
Right. Well, and you know, and you could be the best worker in the world, and the economy can crash. And guess what? Your boss isn't going to be the person that gets let go of. You know what I mean? So when you have that one stream of income being your job, it's like, it seems like society just goes, oh, you have a job, you're safe and secure. And it's like, I would way rather have a ton of product out at Amazon that's a bunch of little multiple streams that come into my one than to have everything into one basket, you know? I mean, because that is, but it's real hard for people to get that, because even like Jessica alluded to, you still, that first year, you still had that idea of like, oh, maybe I should still get a job, like it might be secure, because it's that little fear of like, that thing can take care of us, you know what I mean? And it's I mean, and sometimes, you know, I know that along the road, you know, there's been times in my life where it's like, well, maybe, but I don't think I could ever be employed again. I don't think I'm employable. But sometimes that idea has come up before, and it's like, yeah, it comes up, you know, it might come up, and then it's like, yeah, right, dude. So now, when you guys first started, were you scared to start? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
I'll let Cliff answer that, because for me, I don't think I had much of the choice, you know, but I think it was a little bit different for him.
It was different for me, because it was more of a choice, you know, for both of us when I came home. you know, we were wanting, or we were seeing Jessica have some good success, and we're like, okay, what can we do if we both went full time? And we thought, you know what, we could have some good success with this. And you know, I was really struggling at my job because we were tied to the housing market at the time, and so I had to let a lot of people go from all of my stores. And so that was a tough time for me. And then, like you said, you know, when the economy goes, the boss is on you. You know what I mean? And they were looking at us, saying, "What are you guys doing wrong? How come you're not selling any granite countertops, or how come you're not selling tile?" And we're like, "Look, nobody is." And
why are they not building houses, bro?
Right, you know what I mean? And so we're like, we're the same people that were making you $1 million a month, you know, a year ago, and we're not doing anything different. We're just trying to figure out how to navigate this economy, just like you are. And so, you know, we were, you know, I was struggling at my job, and so we were thinking, you know, what could we turn this into if I went full time? And so. It was a big deal, and it was something that we were really scared of, and I was still scared. Even after we decided, like, I wasn't sure that it was the right decision. And it took me probably, I think, after that fourth quarter, when we really knocked it out. Do you remember how much we sold that fourth quarter?
It was like $98,000 or something.
We sold like $98,000 that fourth quarter alone, and I thought to myself, we just made...
That's a lot of work.
So much money. I've never seen that much money in a month of my life.
Right.
And we're like, let's do this. And that's where I got a little bit more comfortable with it. And I left my job on good terms, so I always felt like in the back of my mind I can fall back on that if I need to.
They ask him every once in a while, like, are you sure you don't want to come back?
He's like, you can't afford me now.
Right. And
I want to work 3 hours a day.
Right. When I choose. From home.
So, but
that's
it was
awesome.
scary. It took me, probably that fourth quarter is what really calmed my nerves of, okay, we're going to knock this out, and we're going to really run with this, and we're going to be good at it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the success really does help to see when you start seeing that success. And then there's some point where the success, like you said, it overcomes whatever like success your job could have given you. And it's almost like if I don't go towards this thing, then I'm like kind of letting myself down, you know? Like if I don't, I won't know what the possibilities are if I don't go towards this.
Right.
So you talked a little bit about how the people around you, your friends and family, acted about your decision to start your business. And you said, Jessica, that people were kind of like, when you started it, it was sort of they thought like, oh, look at the hobby thing or whatever. And then, but can you go into that anymore? Like, how was that when you finally decided to do this thing like full time? You know, and it can be both you guys. What was your family like? And friends. I mean, I know society kind of looks at things, and it's like I said, you know, if it's a job, they go, oh, congratulations, you got a new job. And when you say, oh, I started a new business, they're like, oh, good luck. You know what I mean? So talk to that.
Yeah, you know, so for me, it was a really sad thing because I had lost my job, and so people were really sympathetic to that. You know, everybody can understand when that happens. And then there's this time period that goes by, and people are asking, like, have you found a job yet? Or are you still looking for a job? And I would say, you know, no, I'm not looking for a job. And so people would be like, well, why not? And I'm like, because I'm making enough money selling online that I don't need to, so I'm not looking for a job. And then they're like, oh, well, that's cute. You know, like, it was never like a serious thing. Like, people never, like, back then, people never asked me, like, oh, can you teach me how to do what you're doing? It took Cliff leaving for people to be like, oh, maybe this thing is legit.
Right.
Like, maybe he is making money.
It was seriously only a couple years, like maybe 3 years ago, where people finally started to be like, oh, wow, that's really awesome what you guys do. They would see us going to these nice places and just having freedom to be wherever we wanted, whenever we wanted, and do, you know, go to cool places. And so it was probably only a couple years ago where people really started to just say, like, wow, that's amazing what you guys do, and that's really inspiring. But at first it was like, yeah, I guess, good luck to you guys, or we got a lot of weird looks, and like I said, especially when I decided to leave my job, that was the where we got a lot of people that looked not too sure on what we were doing, but it was good.
Like a couple people, like, this isn't even a joke, Rob. You're gonna think that this is a joke. But somebody told Cliff, like, well, what are you going to do if that internet thing doesn't work out? But not talking about, like, selling on the internet, like, literally, like, the internet. What if the internet
Oh, my gosh. That's the best. Yeah, that's you got to know how to do all this stuff, because what if calculators, like, go away? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
That little internet thing, I kind of think it's here to stay.
Yeah, I think it's here to stay now. That was actually one of the reasons why I started blogging, was because just nobody around us got it. Nobody knew what we were doing. I could sit and have a conversation with somebody and try to explain what I was doing, and it was just like, whoa, over my head. Like, it just didn't make sense at that point. Looking back 7 years ago, people didn't know a lot of people who were selling online or making money online. And so now if we meet somebody new and we say we sell online, it's like everybody knows somebody who's sold online. And so it's much more common. But people just didn't get it. And so I had started blogging as an outlet just to connect with people that knew what I was doing and, like, got me. That was kind of the whole reason why I got started doing that.
Sure. Well, and plus when we work from home, it's kind of like we're in this little cocoon of our business. And, I mean, one thing that's been cool about this is the different communities, the Facebooks and the things like that. And we can kind of surround ourselves with these people that are this like-minded, because I do get reminded a lot, yeah, there are a lot of people that understand the selling online stuff. I do get way more of that whole, it's sort of like, oh, that's a neat little thing you do or whatever, like your little Amazon business or whatever. But I get reminded a lot when I go talk to the regular people out there that not as many people really know it as, like, because for us, we talk to sellers every single day.
Right.
I'm talking about all the stuff. We know all the same lingo, and so do all the people I talk to. But when you go out there in the regular world, sometimes you talk to them and they're just looking at you like, what planet are you from, bro?
Yeah.
And I think that and most people associate selling online with you're selling on eBay. Like, I don't even think selling on Amazon is mainstream yet for what people think of e-commerce. Like, I would say probably 90% of the people I talk to and tell them, oh, I sell products online, or, oh, you eBay. And so I don't even think selling on Amazon is mainstream yet. I mean, I know it's gaining steam and it's blown up over the last couple of years, but until that changes, when people say, oh, is it Amazon or eBay? I don't think the whole selling on Amazon is just it yet, because it's still, oh, eBay, and it's not.
Yeah, I agree. And so many people I talk to, like, don't have any idea about FBA. They think Amazon's a book-selling business, and they don't know. A lot of people don't know that the prime sellers are third-party sellers. Like, there's so many people that it's like I go, wow. I start talking to people, and I'm just like, here, dude, go check out my YouTube channel, because it's like, like, they're way back where I was in 2011. Like, no idea of anything. There's still a lot of people out there. We're just used to being in this thing and talking to so many people and being so much farther advanced than, like, a lot of people. They're still like you said, they go, oh, you're selling online, it must be eBay. Dude, do your guys' neighbors, like, look at you like, what the heck's going on? I think my neighbors probably think I'm into something weird.
So our neighbors think we're drug dealers.
For sure.
We've had our neighbors tell us, we thought you guys were drug dealers. Like, we invited, a couple over, and she might even be watching this. So, and then, we got to know them, and we're pretty good friends with them now. And then she's like, yeah, we pretty much thought you guys were drug dealers, and that's how you got your money and were able to stay home all day long. And we're like, no, that's not it.
Yeah. how do you guys keep getting nice stuff, but you never have to go to work? Like, I think my neighbors must think that, you know?
Yeah,
Right.
like UPS is at your house every day, so obviously you're like spending a whole bunch of money, and then you're getting stuff and you're shipping it out. Like, what are you doing? Like, are you selling drugs through the mail?
I think about that all the time when I go out, and I'm just like, I wonder what my neighbors think. It's so funny. So, okay,
Like,
in this,
you come
we're
home with
just
these
about
huge
done with this
bags of
beginning
stuff,
part.
and they're like, they shop every single day.
Right. Or you see your neighbors at the store and you've got cartloads of stuff. What's this person into, man? So we're about to close out this beginning part of the show. What advice would you guys have for those people who might be on the fence about getting started in their own business?
To be honest with you, and this is what I tell most people that I meet that are interested in selling, whether Amazon, eBay, or starting whatever business you want, and especially with Amazon, just start small. Jessica really did start this as something that was not a full-blown, full-time job. You know what I mean? We meet so many people that are like, yeah, I'm going to give my boss the middle finger tomorrow, and I'm quitting my job, and I'm selling on Amazon. And we're like,
wait, don't do that.
Don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, just start small. Start with we believe in retail arbitrage. That's why we teach people to start there, because it's such a low investment and it's a low risk. And you might not even like selling online. We've met people that we've taught people how to do it, and this just isn't for me. And that's totally cool. But we just like to tell people, start small. Start it on the weekends. Do it on the weekends when you're not working. See if you can conjure up some good deals at the drugstores or wherever, and see if it's something that you like and grow it. You know what I mean? Start making a couple $100s a month, and then try and make 1,000, and then give your boss the middle finger if you feel like it. You know what I mean? Like have some track record into what you're doing, and don't just make a huge life-changing decision with no proven, hey, I can do this, and I'm going to knock this out, because it isn't for everybody. And so that would be my advice for people starting out.
What I like to say is, make sure that whenever you get started with an Amazon business, or any online business really, is treat it like a business and know that it takes time to start seeing a profit, and there are expenses that come along with the business. We are so lucky that we can start with very little money and expenses. I mean, our expenses, what are we looking at? Like less than $300 a month in recurring expenses.
Crazy.
But you have a brick and mortar business, Rob. You know that there's like thousands and thousands of dollars that go into starting an actual business with a shop and with things. And so it's like people have to have that mindset going into it, like that there are going to be expenses, and you're not going to be able to pull out money right away. I say don't even expect to take a profit for at least 3 months. And if you want to really scale your business, then it's going to take longer than that. So it's like, yeah, for sure you can make money, but you have to come in with money, or you have to let it grow over time.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've probably seen it too, Rob. Like, we've seen so many people just quit and give up, like, after 30 days of trying. And they're like, I can't.
This isn't working. This business thing isn't working.
You don't know what you're doing yet. It's kind of sad sometimes when we see people give up that quickly on starting something for their own. And then, like Jessica said, we get a lot of people that are just like, oh, I have this $40 Amazon fee from my account, and then I have to pay $50 for a listing third-party app and a scanning app and so I got to pay $100 a month in recurring fees, and we're like, that is nothing. And I know $100 is a lot of money, but to start a business and have that monthly expense compared to starting a brick and mortar business, it's absolutely nothing compared to that. And so we always just we wish people would try it a little bit longer. And there's a lot of people that give up so quickly, and we're so saddened by it because they just don't put in the effort, and people just want instant results. And unfortunately, this isn't free money, and you know that. It is work. We're not just here just printing up money, and it's work that has to be done, and it's there for people that want to put in the time and effort.
Absolutely. That's huge. And you know, I know because I've been in the ABC group and the Facebook group there quite a bit, and we've seen so many people who have just got to a point where they're like, "Oh, I feel like I've been working this all the way and I'm about to quit," and then you get other people like bringing them up and just keep going. And I swear that happens right before the good stuff happens. And the
Right.
people that stick with it, it's like all of a sudden they just skyrocket. Like a month or two later, I mean, we've seen that over and over and over again.
Yeah,
It's pretty amazing.
yeah, we do see that a lot and even like us, we go into stores and we don't find anything. Like
Yeah.
with
Right.
all the experience that we have, we go into Walmart and we strike out. And we go into
Right.
the next store and we strike out. But you know what? We're going back next week and we're going to make some money next time because we're going to find that one item that's going to make us, some good profit. And I think
Right,
a
and
lot
it's a
of people
business,
struggle
and that
with
will
that.
add on to other products, and you'll have like, you know, what people kind of don't get too is like you get a product and then you add it to like, okay, I found this product. Well, now you've still got that product in your mind. The next time you go shopping, you find another product. Well, now you've got two products, and then the next time, and every time you're adding on products that you can just add to it. So yeah, it's definitely a business, and like you said, to get into this is so cheap. That's why, I mean, people need to realize, like, if you were a carpenter, what would you pay in tools? What would you pay? You know, I mean, like, for our business, we had to buy grinders, and these grinders were like $250 to $300 a piece. And I would buy about 4 of those a month because our guys would just tear them up every month. Every single
Right.
month. That was just one thing. We paid like 25 or 2,800. It was so long ago now for rent every month. But when we did first and last and a security deposit, that's like $8,000 or something like that. I mean, that's just for the rent. Then we had to plumb electricity. We had workers' comp. We did. Like, seriously, like, this is such a low entry to get into a business, and you can start it by selling just the stuff in your house that's just sitting there as like dollar signs. You don't even know it yet, but you can
Right.
sell that stuff, free up money, and then start an actual business. I mean, it amazes me that this opportunity is there. You know, it's huge.
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing too is like, when you're first starting out is to make sure you surround yourself with good people.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of negative people out there that don't really want to see anybody else succeed at anything. And
Right.
like you said, those times when you do strike out and you see people frustrated, like, oh, I didn't find anything, I'm ready to quit. That's when you need good supportive people, and find a group that says, hey, no, you're gonna find something next time you go out. Find some different stores to source that, and then go back to that one because you never know what's gonna be there.
Yeah.
Right. And ABC, I mean, the Facebook group there, the people there are awesome, and we'll get to that just a little bit because that is just so good. But before we go into the second part of the interview, I just want to ask if you guys are digging the information that you're getting here, and it's such good value, you got to be digging the information. Go ahead and give us a thumbs up and let us know that you are liking the content. So part two, we're into the part two now, where you are now, and I guess we're going to have to condense this a little bit because we talked quite a bit about the beginning part, and I definitely want to talk about the products that you have because they're so great. So kind of give me an idea, what does your guys' business look like now? Sort of a day-to-day, what your business looks like now.
Well, now, man, it's way less work than it was when we got started.
Yeah.
That's the really cool thing about it is that once you get into the systems and you've built up inventory. Now, most people haven't been to our house like you have, Rob, so you've seen our garage. You know that we always have a ton of inventory in our garage because we like to buy
Awesome.
a lot of stuff. And so, we've got it down to where we can shop just once or twice a month now. And as long as we find big amounts of stuff that we can sell, then we don't have to do much during a regular year. And for sure, it wasn't always like that. For sure. But what we really enjoy doing is we love the hustle of fourth quarter. And so we try to make enough during the regular year to kind of maintain. And then we make as much money as possible in the fourth quarter. So that way we still have money left over the next year that we can kind of not have to work as much. So our first years, we were working 40 hours between us a week, and then we got to where we were only doing about 20 hours per week between us, and now we're about 10 hours per week between us. And then once we get into like November, then it's like 40 hours a week each.
Just go crazy time.
Right. So then you got to go to regular people hours. Aw. That's awesome. Now you say you do like one big purchase a month or maybe two or whatever. Are you still doing a lot of that being liquidation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the way that we found that we could spend less time but come up with huge returns. So what my goal really is, if we can find products that are going to last us a year, then, if we can find one of those per month, then we're good to go. If not, then we have to find something else.
Right. So you put how many products would you say you have out there then?
It's always like less than 150. We never have a ton of reviews. Yeah. That's actually been since the beginning like that, because we've always gone kind of deep into things, and so we never need to have a ton of SKUs, and then once something runs out, we don't replenish it. So we're constantly changing over our inventory, but we never have to have thousands of SKUs. I think the most that we've ever had, honestly, is like 300, and that was during one of our first fourth quarters.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. And you guys taught me about liquidation, and I love it because you can find that stuff that's kind of hard to find, and when you find it, you can buy a ton of it, and then a lot of times you're like the only person there or one of a couple, and you can't find it anywhere else. So they got to come to you, and I love that about liquidation, and it's cheap. So you talked a little bit about systems. How important are the systems in your business?
Well, I mean, like Jessica said earlier, we kind of just go off of our strengths and our weaknesses, really. She is really, really good at, entering in the items and flying through all the inventory screens and getting that all set up. And I played a lot of Tetris growing up, so I'm a whiz at packing them boxes and getting the sheet ready. So we found out real quick that if she handled that part and I handled most of the shipping, that it was a good system for both of us because we were both playing to our strengths, and that's really helped us. And so we've kind of tried to do the things that we're really good at. And I think you have to just know and accept the things that it's not that I'm not good at entering in stuff in the computer. It's just that she's faster at it than me.
Right.
That's one of the blessings of us working together, is because I remember whenever it was just me, and Cliff has told this story before, of there was this time where I had bought, it was like 80 or 100 of these Clorox wands, and I had loaded my car full of them, and then I had to have them all over in my office, which was smaller than what I have now, and Cliff comes in and I'm like surrounded with them. But at that point, I was doing the whole process myself. And so I had to put them into the computer and then label them and then pack them up and, all these things by myself. And it was like I didn't want to be like, hey, I know you just got home from a long day of work and it kind of sucked. Can you pack these boxes for me?
Right.
And he would. And then that's kind of where he saw, like, wow, you actually are like doing work, because I feel like he probably thought I had a hobby too. But on that same note, though, is now we do get that benefit of using each other's strengths, and we don't have to be the sole one who's responsible for any one thing, because it's so much harder to have to do it by ourselves. And I know that not everybody has that opportunity to work with their spouse or, have somebody who wants to do this business with them. And so I'm so thankful for that, because I don't want to be doing the things that aren't fun to me, and he doesn't want to be doing the things that aren't fun to him. And so it's like we got to build the system to work for us.
And it really helps with sourcing too, to have two pairs of eyes, because we've shared lots of stories of some of our big finds, but Jessica will walk by something, and the same with me. She'll walk by something, and I'll come back through, and I'll be like, hey, did you look at that pallet of ketchup sitting there? And she's like, no. Well, I'm
It's
like,
ketchup.
don't make a bunch of money off of it, you know? And then the same thing, like, I'll be walking through shelves, and I'll just be like, no, that's not going to be anything. I'm not scanning it, and, you know, and then Jessica will come back through and be like, hey, here's a couple $100, and throw it in the cart, and I'm like, wow, I wouldn't even have thought to scan that. And so it really does
Isn't that
help.
crazy?
Yeah, with sourcing to have.
And you guys are both experienced, and you look for you're in the same spot. You're both experienced, but you left something that she goes, hey, I want to check this out. And I mean that just goes to show you that there's tons of opportunity out there. Like you even already know, and you would have left it, but luckily because you have both you guys, you're finding like double the product.
You know, people ask us all the time, like, how could you teach people how to do this? You're just training your own competition. And that's the perfect example, because I've gone with friends that I've taught how to do this business, and we look at completely different things. And so I feel like we could take a group of 10 sellers into Big Lots. We could all go into the same aisle, and we're all going to pick out 10 different things to scan. Because, you know, the saying is scan everything, right? But ultimately, you can't scan every single thing. So just by nature, we grab at certain things that we know from experience or that we just have a feeling about, but it's different for every person. And so that's the cool thing is, like, I just feel like nobody's ever going to have the exact same business because we all see things differently. And sometimes what's good for me or what's good for Cliff, the other one goes, it's not worth it, you know? And that's how it is across businesses. You may find something and I go, nah, I don't want to sell that, even though it's profitable. Cliff always tells me, like, man, there's all this stuff that we didn't get today, but somebody else would be so happy to have purchased it.
And when you raise your levels, too, it's like you go, okay, well, that doesn't fit within my stuff. But, yeah, like you said, someone else might go, oh, I'll take that smaller margin or what. Like, it's good stuff. You've just picked better for your business model. Yeah, I think there's going to be, I just don't see it ever being a point where there's not more opportunity than there is money. I just don't see how that can be because there's so many different stores. Everyone's going through different sell cycles. There's always going to be clearance. There's always going to be liquidation. There's always going to be sales. There's always going to be places that are, you know, specific to a geographic area. So I don't see how there's not going to always be something to buy and sell.
Yeah,
like the discrepancy in the marketplace is always going to be there to some degree.
Right, and not only that is that Amazon keeps growing every single year. People are wanting to stay home. They don't want to go out in the crowds of people and wait in line anymore. It's a thing of the past, man. Like, there's obviously going to be things that you have to go to the, you know, the store and get, but people they value their time more and more. People want their time, and Amazon, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I think, you know, not only the opportunity to find products out there, but to sell more of those products too, is something that I think is going to keep growing.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think we're in a great place. I think that, you know, the more people that get into it now, and now can be any time. I don't see Amazon going down. I just see it growing, and more people are going to need stuff. And if we're there with the stuff, I mean, you know, you can either take this opportunity or you can watch it just pass you by and go, I wish I would have, you know.
And one thing, you know, that we've realized is it's really important to be willing to adapt, because this business, the overall concept is the same, but every couple weeks, every few months, things are changing, and so it's like, yeah, we may have to learn how to do a shipment, you know, like just recently, it's like now it's mandatory that you use those packing lists, and before it was like, well, we didn't have to do that, so why should we have to do that? And, you know, it's like, to us, when we see people who get really upset about changes, it's like, they're just part of the plan, you know, we just expect that something's going to change, we expect that fees are going to go up, we expect that Amazon's going to make us do something different, and it's like, but we have the opportunity to sell on Amazon, and without it, we wouldn't be working from home. And so we're just willing to make any changes as necessary.
Yeah, you got to. And if something else better comes along, we can do that. But right now, I mean, it's such a huge opportunity to be able to send all your stuff in and leverage all their shipping and all their people and all that stuff and I don't have to see the crap anymore once it's out of my house. And then I have this huge audience, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, that can buy on a whim and buy my stuff. And then I don't even have to do anything with it or even deal with customer service hardly ever. Like
Right.
every once in a while they slip through. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, it's a great opportunity. I love it. So what gives you guys the most juice in your life?
The most juice? Well, I can speak for for me. I think it's our lifestyle business.
Sure.
We could totally be $1 million sellers in a couple months if we wanted to. I really believe that. And from day one, we decided that we were just gonna build a lifestyle business for ourselves because what we value is family time and being able to do what we want when we want and still make a decent income and not have to worry about money. But first and foremost is just spending time together. We love to go places. We love to be together, like, just us and our little boy. We like to do nice things for our friends and help people out that, if a family or a friend is struggling with something, we love to be able to be there to help out. And I think that's what we value the most. And I think that's what gives us the most juice, in our life is being able to spend time together as a family. And that's why we built our business around that, saying, you know what, we're not trying to chase, being $1 million a month sellers. That's not on our agenda. It's like we want a couple good finds. We want to make this much money per month, and we want to hang out together and go places together when we want.
Yeah. Well,
Amen. I love that
get
one.
a little bit sappy because, a lot of times people just don't understand, like, how we can work together and then what would we want to spend any more time together. And it's like we were just talking the other day because, we spend time together at home and then we still want to do things together. We want to go out and we want to have dates and we want to go on vacation. And it's like, this is my best friend. Like, I get the opportunity to just spend as much time as I want, and we get to make money in the process. So it's like, that's what excites me. That's what makes me just so, like, ramped up, is like, I get to do this with my best friend, and we have enough money to do what we want, and we have this cute little kid who comes and hangs out with us while we do it,
Yeah, so good. I mean, you guys are living the dream. I mean, you decided what you wanted. You found something that you can build a lifestyle around the business, and you're doing everything. You're working with the people you want. You're hanging out. You're doing the things that you want. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. I think it's really good to reflect on that every once in a while because we really are blessed. Like I said, I get so used to just, like, waking up and making money during the night. Like, I used to say I wish I would make money when I was asleep, and now it's like I get mad if I don't. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like I don't have to clock in. I don't. And then I talk to people that are still working. It's like, oh yeah, like, this is, like, we definitely are blessed. That's awesome. And so I guess I don't even need to ask this, but do you guys love having your own business?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually, after all that, we don't really like it so much.
You know what? Like, I do know, and I appreciate, like, what we do a lot because, like, where I came from in my job, like, at the time, right before I quit, it was a really rough time for me, and I couldn't, like, socially, I wasn't normal because I was always worried about the problems I was going to deal with, the next day when I went into work and what I was going to have to deal with. So I couldn't focus and on, just having conversations with people because my mind was wandering, and I was always stressed when my phone rang or I got an email because I knew it was just going to be some type of bad news that I was going to have to deal with, because that's what you deal with when you have to manage, a ton of people and a business. And so I wasn't really, at a good place when I quit, like, socially and mentally, because I was just deflated and defeated. And so I appreciate this business a lot because I came from that, and it was something that was really a life drain on me. And I wasn't normal, I say normal, but I couldn't, it finally took me about maybe a year after I had quit to finally relax and just be like, okay, enjoy this conversation with this person right now that you're having, and you don't have to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow at a job or what problems the employees are going to bring to you. And so it took a while for me to get back to normal, but man, it makes me appreciate what we do even more so because of that experience for me.
Absolutely. Well, it's like, like you said, that's such a huge thing that I think a lot of people probably deal with is that, you get to be you now. You don't have to worry about going home and taking that job home with you and being like, oh, what fires do I got to put out tomorrow? Someone else's mess up do I have to take care of or whatever? And you get to be in the present moment and like actually enjoy life. And I think a lot of people are in that thing, like that whole kind of hating Sunday night because you got to go to work Monday, and we don't have to have that.
Right, and
I mean, it's huge.
My heart does go out to the people that have to go to work because I remember what the Sunday night was like. I remember that, and I won't ever forget it. And then also, when our boy is sick, I don't have to call somebody and be like, please don't be mad at me, but my son is sick today and I can't come into work. Like that in itself is a huge blessing and something that I really appreciate. Or even vacation time. We don't have to call somebody and be like, is this okay and does this fit around your schedule that I can take a couple days off? And then
right.
I don't have to get any emails or phone calls while I'm gone on vacation like I used to. So, man, yeah, it really is a blessing and grateful.
It's huge. Yeah, I swear every time I wanted to relax, I would do everything I could to tell like my customers and stuff, I'm not going to be doing anything, and this is the time frame. I swear it's like if you bring attention to it, that's when they want to be like, hey, dude, what's going on? Oh, you're at Disneyland? Well, we need this done back here. And it's like, dude, come on, I told you. But that's huge. And, you just had a health scare recently, and your business kept going. I mean, you were in the hospital for quite a bit of time there, huh?
Yeah, I was in there for about 6 days, 5-6 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, money came in while we were in there, and again, we didn't have to call my boss and say, hey, I can't make it in for probably a couple weeks now, and try and find somebody to fill my management spot. You know what I mean? Like, none of that had to happen.
Yeah. You had the chance to be healing instead of stressing while your body needed to heal, thinking, oh, am I going to lose my job? Is there going to be a huge pile of work when I get back to work? All these things you didn't have to think about. You could just go, okay, I know everything's taken care of, and I just need to get better. So, I mean, it's kind of the way life should be, and I think it's really, really cool. And I'm so glad to know you guys. You guys are awesome, and I'm right there with you with the lifestyle business, and that's what I want to do. I want to spend time with my family, do the cool stuff, hang out, and go to Costa Rica and just do cool stuff and do whatever I want, because as far as I know, I get to be here one time, and I'm just going to take advantage of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So do you guys have anything else that you'd like to share with the audience as far as any advice or parting words for the interview part? And I still want to talk about your products. I know we're a little over, everybody. I appreciate you being here, but do you have any kind of last advice or parting words?
I would just say that with this opportunity, that take it and just make it whatever you want. It doesn't have to look like anybody else's, and don't make your goals based on what somebody else has done. Just sit down and make a list of what's the most important thing to you and make that happen in your business. If somebody doesn't want to work a few hours, then work full time and blow this thing out of the water. But if your goal is to just be able to buy a new car and have it not be a drain on your family, then make that happen, because that's just the coolest thing, is that you get to be in charge of what you want to happen, and whatever it is, as long as you're willing to put in the work, then it can happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What about you, Cliff? Anything else?
Oh, man.
How do you follow that, right?
Right. How do you follow that? You know what? I'm going to have to just go back to not giving up so quickly. I think that transition of working in a job to working for yourself is a huge transition, and it scares a lot of people. And we see fear consume so many people saying, my gosh, I don't know what to do, or, I can't find anything to sell it. There's a learning curve. You're starting a business. Right. You have to learn how to take care of it, financially, with taxes and paperwork. And I know that really scares a lot of people, but it's something that has to be done in any type of business, but we would totally rather just work for ourselves and have the lifestyle we want to have instead of clocking in 9 to 5 for somebody.
Absolutely. And what's great about this business is that, you know, there are people like you guys who have gone through everything. You're out there and you're showing people. It's like when you go into another business, you can't just go buy a course like in the business I had. A lot of businesses, unless you're buying into like a McDonald's or a Subway where, you know, you're going in and they're telling you, okay, here's your systems or whatever, you know, you don't find this in just some regular business. And you guys have helped people out with the Amazon Bootcamp with a bunch of different stuff. But, I mean, it's so nice to be able to have that step-by-step, to be able to have all the information, to kind of feel like you're being held by the hand along through this thing because, again, that transition from being an employee to just even starting a business, even if you keep the employee thing and you start a business, that transition's real weird, and you got to stand on your own all of a sudden, and you're like, oh my gosh, and now I got to learn all these different things, and it's like you guys have made products to help people out and help them to do that. So why don't you share a little bit about some of your different products and what you have out there? I know you have a ton, so whatever you'd like to share about, I'd love to hear about it. Definitely ABC, of course, has to be talked about, but...
Yeah, it does feel like we have a lot. You know, we're making a lot of changes with the website right now and just kind of streamlining some things. But we have stuff from not even having an Amazon business up into never selling back to school or fourth quarter, if you're just wanting to do bookkeeping, whatever it is that you need to know. Hopefully we have something that will help you in your business. Our Amazon Bootcamp is probably our favorite thing. It's my baby. It's like my love project. But that Absolutely. I made that just with the goal of trying to give people the opportunity that we had and giving them as much, you know, I call it one-on-one, but, you know, you're not sitting there with me like live. But it was just my way of saying, like, this is everything that I've learned, and here's how you can apply it to your own business. And in a way that I wish somebody had done that for me. And so that's our Amazon Bootcamp. But for what I've heard, you know, what people tell me is that just the way that I teach is in a way that is super, super step-by-step. And just if you have a hard time just figuring it out, because there's people who will get our courses and they're like, oh, no, you took way too much time. Like, I don't need to see every screen. But those aren't the people who are best for my trainings. It's the people who want to have somebody go through and say, look, this is exactly how you do it. You don't have to guess in between on what steps to take. And that's kind of the goal that I had, was that there would be no questions left whenever you take our trainings.
And I think along with the boot camp, you know, comes our ABC Facebook group, that we have for people that are going through the course and have gone through it. You know, there's a couple thousand people in there now that have gone through it, and it really is. And along with our Selling Family Community Facebook, which is free, but you have to be in the boot camp to be in the ABC group. But what we've tried to create with those is a community, a positive community of sellers that can come there to ask questions without, you know, feeling like they're going to get, you know, talked down to or fearful of asking something because they've experienced that in other groups. And so we try really hard. We check on it. I have a notification anytime someone posts in the group. Like, I check it to make sure it's, you know, positive. I can't answer every single one, but, you know, I check it to make sure it's positive, and I try and stay up on the comments, you know, to make sure that people are being helpful. And we really wanted to create a positive community where people can thrive and not be fearful to ask anything and get help with what they need. And so that's really, along with that, you know, that's Jessica's baby, the ABC Bootcamp. But, you know, we tried to pair those groups with it to make it a good place for sellers to hang out and get good help.
And, you know, we haven't had our Facebook group for very long, the Selling Family Community. But yeah, and like that's like my favorite place to be now, you know, because we've made it clear from the very beginning, like this is a place to encourage each other and to help each other in our businesses no matter where we are. And so if somebody comes in and they're brand new and they haven't even taken our course, like it doesn't matter. Like, we're still going to make sure that their question gets answered. And if somebody comes in and starts to like, don't you already know that? It's like, no, that's not allowed here. Like,
Right.
I have no problem saying, like, I will delete comments. I have no problem with that. So if you don't like a well-moderated group, it may not be for you. But, you know, it attracts those kind of people because people just know that that's the kind of environment that we're creating, and people want to be a part of it.
Oh, yeah. And what's cool, you know, like I said, I've been in there for quite a while, too, and to see, well, one, there's so many different levels of people starting that in the business, and so you see, like, the beginner, and then the people that have started a long time ago are still hanging out in there. And they're helping out each other, and it's like really, really cool. And like the new people will kind of get together and be like, oh, we're at the same level, and everybody's helping everybody. And I mean, I don't think I've ever really seen any negativity in there. Like, I don't even, unless you get to it real fast, I don't really see that because
I get to it real fast.
Yeah, you must. I mean, it's such a safe place to be for people that want to start an Amazon business, and you know, you have this great training that's video based, step by step, and they update it as things change. You update the stuff, and then so you have all this, and then if you watch the trainings and you have a question, you can go to the Facebook group and have it backed up. So it's super great, and I highly recommend it. And all the products, I've read Liquidation Gold and Grocery Gold Mine, and I mean, I think I've read pretty much all your stuff. So you have a great teaching style, and I highly recommend any and all of your products. So actually, you can go to DollarMoves.com/The Selling Family. That's DollarMoves.com/The Selling Family, and that is a list of all of the products that you guys have. And then while you're there, check out the About and the blog. I love your guys' website, too. It's looking great. Everything is
That's Jessica's baby, too.
Yeah, no, I know. I've watched it progress, for sure. That's awesome. And did you guys have anything else that you wanted to add before we get off of here?
So should we give him a special? I know we don't have any one product that we have on sale, but we could probably do something special. What do you think?
Sure.
So how about if we make a $Moves coupon code and people can take 20% off of whatever product they want? So if they're not a beginner,
wow.
they can pick something else. And we'll just make it last, what's today, the 25th? How about till the 1st of April, April Fools?
Awesome.
No, June.
Wait, no,
not
April next year? I love it. No, it's on video. It's on video. It's there.
It's on April 1st, 2017. Sold. It's done.
Yeah. You love DollarMoves. So
Yeah.
is the promo code DollarMoves then?
Yeah. So we'll do $Moves, no space, and so the next month after May is what, June?
Yeah, it's June.
So
Yeah.
June 1st. Well,
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And again, I appreciate you guys being on here. And that's huge. You guys go check out the trainings. Like I said, they're awesome. DollarMoves.com/The Selling Family. Make sure to use DollarMoves in the promo code so you get that 20% off. That is so cool. Thank you guys. So, yeah, thanks again, you guys, for coming on here. And I've got a little bit of housekeeping before we get off. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. If you did, please take a moment to hit the like button down below. I'd love to hear any positive takeaways or anything that you loved about today's show in the comment section under the video. If you got here late and were unable to see the whole show, the link will take you to the replay. So the link that got you here will take you to the replay as well. The links are set up like this: DollarMoves.com/getting to know, and then the guest's first name and last name. So the link to today's show is DollarMoves.com/getting to know Jessica Larrew. Because if I put getting to know Jessica and Cliff Larrew, it would just mess up that whole thing. So you can see all the past getting to know live shows, the playbacks, on the YouTube playlist at DollarMoves.com/getting to know. That'll take you right there. So again, you guys, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so honored, and I appreciate it. It's been a great time. I know we went a little over, and I figured that would probably happen because we enjoy hanging out. So thank you guys for being on the show. I appreciate it.
You got to come by for some barbecue soon. Next time
Dude,
you're
those brats are calling me, man. I keep going, I need to get back down there. Sit by the swimming pool and hang out and get something cool for my buddy Aiden. I'm sure he's probably 2 feet taller since I seen him last.
Yep.
and thank
That's
you, Rob,
awesome.
for everything that you do in our community and for the selling, just all the selling community in general. we love to be able to send people to your videos, and you're thorough, and we just really appreciate the responses that you put in our Facebook group, and you're just such a cool person to have as a contact. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Well, it's my pleasure. And like I said, when I was doing some of the looking about like some of the research for this, I was like, man, we have known each other a long time and worked together for a long time, and it has been awesome. And I mean, I'm so glad I've got to know you guys, and I appreciate it. So, hey, I just want to thank everybody for hanging out and enjoying the show. And again, we'll see you on the next video. Take care, guys.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.